5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
You're listening to the GHT Overland podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us on the GHT Overland podcast. This is where you get the greatest interviews and insights from overland travelers around the globe, where you will learn the basics to the advanced in overlanding. So buckle up and get ready for part 2 with Bert of Wide World to Xplore.
And a correction on our show notes from last week with part 1. Please note that Bert's website is ww2, the number 2, Xplore, so Xplore. So just drop the E in Explore. Good to go. The link is corrected in the show notes.
Last week was awesome to learn about Bert, Piggy, challenges faced on the road, and solutions found. All the types of ups and downs probably anyone can expect as overland traveler exploring the world.
Even more impressive, and I would say motivating, as you will hear in this week's episode, Bert is an explorer, a photographer, and an all-around interesting man, but not a mechanic. He's getting along just fine with a 37-year-old truck, finding help and mechanics as needed along the way. What is holding you back?
Before you give too much away, I'm hitting the launch button into part 2.
Enjoy! Thank you for coming back! So border crossings, what tips do you have in preparing for them? How long do you usually plan for them to take?
A very, very long time, because traveling with a truck takes more time than traveling with a normal car, I think. Usually it takes about 5-6 hours sometimes. It depends on the country, of course. But some countries, they want to see see everything. Sometimes they are only curious, but other times they want to see every cabin, every hole, every dark place, and it takes a long time.
Why do you think that's different than a normal size vehicle?
Yeah, because there's so much space where you can hide things. You can hide weapons, you can hide drugs, and they're always asking, do you have guns, do we have drugs, etc. And they want to test it. They want to see if it's true what I'm saying. So that takes a long time. And it's also the paperwork. The paperwork takes a long time, especially everything, at least in these countries, everything is written in Cyrillic. Sometimes you're lucky that there is a form also written in English. Then it's going to be a little bit easier. But all the bureaucratic things around it, that takes a lot of time.
And if you show up to a border and there's a long line of trucks, the cars are usually able to go by. Are you also able to go by?
Sometimes it's a problem. There was one big problem when I wanted to enter Ukraine, and they told me, you're too heavy for a camper. So a camper is maximum 7.5 tons, and I'm 12 tons. So you are a truck, a real truck with goods. So no, I'm not a truck, I'm a camper. But they have to follow the law, and there was no other option. And I was waiting there for 5, 6, 7 hours, and I couldn't cross the border. Then I went to another border, was between Hungary and Ukraine. Same story. So next day I went to another border. So I crossed the border to Slovakia, and there it was a little bit easier. And the officer said, "Well, yeah, we have the same problem. You are too heavy for a camper. Well, I will phone the officer or the Ministry of Transport." And I was standing right in front of him, and he was really telephoning. And he said, "Well, we have to wait for an hour. Then they call back because they don't know either what to do." And after 1 hour waiting, yeah, it was so strange. After 1 hour, they called back and they said, "Well, let him go, let him go." So it's that was a problem. But it took me 2 days to cross the border to Ukraine. And also, you see what your question about the long line. Many times you see a long line with and the truckers, they are already waiting for 1 or 2 days, and I just passed them, and I'm just taking the place of number 2. But sometimes people are very angry about me, but I try to explain why I'm overtaking them. I'm passing them, and then after all everything's okay. But it can be sometimes a little bit frightening because they are very aggressive. Yeah.
No, so they don't like another big truck passing them. So they have to wait longer because they're transporting goods, right? And then all that has to be checked out.
Everything and all the paperworks also. So they sometimes they place me on the back of the line, and then I have to wait and also fill in all the forms, which I don't need. I don't have goods, anything, but they wanted to do all the paperwork, the bureaucratic things. And that happened to me in Ukraine the first time. And after that I learned that I just had to pass the whole line, tell the story to the officer that I'm really a camper and not a truck with goods. And so far everything goes fine. Yeah.
That's good. So they're just not used to seeing a larger truck like yours that is just a tourist or a traveler. Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to explain because they don't speak so much English, and you must talk with hands and feet. And sometimes Google Translate is a very good option. It's getting better every year, Google Translate. So there's a good communication system.
Got it. Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Any specific safety planning you do or tips you can provide our listeners on safety and security?
No, I feel very safe in the car. It looks very massive, very strong, so I don't feel that I'm unsafe. The only thing was maybe 3 weeks ago there was a problem with some people. We had a camping place found just right next to a river. The next morning at 5 o'clock, 2 men came to us and they just started shouting at us. We didn't know what they were saying, and they were shouting harder and harder. At last we understood that we had to leave, but the reason why we had to leave was not known. We didn't know what was the reason. And suddenly one person was so aggressive that he threw stones at me, and he wanted to climb into the car, but we fought a little bit back, and then they disappeared. That was the only thing I felt a little bit unsafe. Yeah.
Yeah, when they start throwing rocks, that's probably not a good sign.
It's not a good sign, yeah, but I didn't know because it was just a normal place. It was not a place where cows or goats were grazing. Or I don't know what the reason was. Anyway, one rock hit my head, so I was bleeding as well.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
not a nice situation, no. But that was the only time in those 3.5 years.
And where was that again?
That was not far from here, from Bishkek, maybe 300 kilometers from here, Kyrgyzstan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, not a nice situation, but well, sometimes things happen like this. But usual people are just very, very hospitable and very friendly, helpful. Not any problem. And you see aggressive people everywhere in the world, so, well, we were a little bit unlucky to meet these two guys.
What are some tips you have for safe money management?
Just keep it in a safe place. I have a safe built on a secret place. That's the only thing. And don't carry a lot of money with you just for one day. And that's all. That's not very specific things. I use some cash. I brought some cash with me from Holland. Some euros and dollars. But I keep it in a safe place, and when I need it, I open it and can use it. And for the rest of the time, I have 2 credit cards. And so far, in most countries, you can use a credit card. Yes, there are many ATMs in the big places. But here in Kyrgyzstan and maybe also in Tajikistan, you don't find many ATMs. So that's why today I went to the ATM to collect some dollars, because these are cash countries, so you have to get to pay cash.
Any specific bank that you use? Is it a bank from back home in Holland to avoid a lot of extra fees and such? Any recommendations there?
No, they're not special Dutch banks. Every country has its main bank, so here in Kyrgyzstan is the Demir Bank. There you can go to ATM, to collect dollars. But for the rest of the time, there are different other banks where you can change. Of course, you have to pay the fee, but well, there's no other chance. The other thing is, when I want to change my euros into local currency, I also have to pay fee, but you can't. Well, you have to pay that, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And on navigation and communication, tell us about your communications and any tips from cell phone plans to SIM cards.
Usually I buy a local SIM card. That's quite inexpensive, very cheap. And this interview is with the SIM card. Local SIM card, it has no limit, so it's limitless. I can use it for 1 month, and it's maybe $7 for the whole month. So it's
oh wow,
it's quite good. And for the rest of the time, when I want to communicate with family and friends, I use WhatsApp or Messenger. Those are the 2 main things I use for communication. And the local SIM card I can use for telephone insights just in the country itself.
Okay. And what are you using for navigation? Do you have any favorite devices or apps you use to make sure you don't get lost?
The main thing I use is the app Maps.me. That's a tremendous, nice app. And it's the best thing I've ever used. So that's the main thing. I just take a look on my telephone, and I want to go from A to B, and he shows the way, and he shows, or it is a she. She tells me you have to go left or right, and or straight ahead or something, and I can see how many kilometers I have to do and how many kilometers I have already done. That's very good, especially because I have also a navigator on board, but not for these countries. My navigator is as far as Russia and all the European countries. And when it's possible and I'm in those countries, I use the bigger one of my truck, the navigator in the truck. And sometimes you use a GPS only for myself to see what distance I have done, and then I can see it on Google Maps, etc. Just a little bit for myself.
Okay. And if we could go back just a little bit, I skipped over this one. On finances, Bert, do you have any recommendations or thoughts on budgeting? I don't know if you do like weekly or monthly. Any ideas there for our listeners on what they could expect budget-wise?
Yeah, you have to think about the fuel, of course. It's a big car, so it consumes a lot. In these countries, it's not so very expensive, but when you're traveling in Europe, it can be quite expensive. Well, also, life is very cheap here in these countries. But overall, inclusive all visits with garages and repairings and things like that, I have a budget of 50 euros per day. But now I'm around 60 euros per day, 65 euros per day. So that's inclusive fuel, inclusive all the reparations and live foods, going to a restaurant, going to a museum, etc.
Interesting. Okay. So let's go through some onboard necessities real quick. I think you touched on it, but if we could go back over it again real quick. How much fuel can you carry? How far does that take you? And any tips on calculating your fuel needs?
Yeah, I can load quite a lot of liters. I have two tanks, one smaller tank, that's a normal tank I use, that's about 125 liters. And there's an extra tank with 400 something more, 420. So altogether I have 540 liters of fuel. So I can travel for maybe 1,000, 1,200 kilometers with all the fuel I have. Quite a long time.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
How much water do you carry, and how are you filtering water when needed?
In the beginning I had a filter. I carry also about 520 liters of water. In the beginning I had a filter, so it made drinking water. But after maybe 4 months, the filter was full. So I had to change the filter. It was quite expensive. I used the water for drinking, but also for my shower, for my toilet, etc., for all the things I needed water. So I was thinking, no, that's not a good idea. That's too expensive. So I took out the filter and use only the water I have in my tanks only for washing hands and for showers and for cooking. And for the rest of the time, I have a very small filter. I put it on my tap and make drinking water out of it. And put it in a canister in a small, 5 or 10 liters of water can. And sometimes I buy a big bottle of drinking water here, which you can buy everywhere. But, the disadvantage is that everything is plastic. So every time again you have to throw it away, the plastic bottle. So I prefer using my own filter, small filter.
Got it. So do you use solar or a generator?
In the beginning I was using both. I had solar, but they were not working very well. On the other hand, I wanted to place a second spare tire on top of my cabin. And that was the place where my solar panels were. So I took off the solar panels, placed my tire on top of the cabin, And now I only have a generator, a diesel generator, when it's necessary. But usually I can stay for 5 days with the full battery. So I don't need the solar panels. I use my fridge and some other electrical things, and I can live, well, what I said, 4 or 5 days without electricity. After that, I have to drive away just to refill it, recharge it again, or when I stay longer, I use my generator.
Got it. Okay. And I think you said you had a pretty large refrigerator. Any idea on what the size is or what brand it is?
It's a Waco.
Okay.
It's I think it's a Dometic. Yeah, that's quite a known brand. And the size, well, what is it? 75 centimeters high and 50 centimeters wide. Yeah, inside. I don't know how many liters.
Does it open from the top or open from the side?
No, front door. It's just a door on the front side.
Any specific recovery gear that you use or would recommend?
Just the normal things like tie wraps and nuts and bolts and duct tape, things like that. Things I can manage. And when there's something really wrong with the car, I go to a garage, or there's some help from somebody else, and he can fix it. Most of the time, or every time again, somebody can fix it for me, and I'm very happy to meet people who can work for me. I don't like greasy hands anyway.
Road stories are always a favorite. What's a favorite road story of yours, or maybe a situation you were nervous going into, and how did it turn out?
Well, we already talked about my 5 days in the desert with the broken bolts of my cabin. That was really the main road story. Maybe, well, it's not really a horror story, but it had some impacts on me. That was not a very nice one. And, well, there are some parts of the roads, especially in the north of Albania. There was a road so narrow. My car is about 2.5 meters wide, but the road was 2 meters 60 centimeters. So, with rocks above me and very steep abyss beside me. So that was I was quite nervous at that time. So I made it, and that was quite. I was a little bit afraid for that.
So, Bert, one of the pictures that you sent us really stood out to me. It's a lot of green grass. It looks like potentially a super old church and a couple other older buildings. Where is that?
Which one is it? Maybe, yeah, I think it's in one of the old churches in Georgia.
Okay.
There you see a lot of nice old Christian churches in Georgia and Armenia. I think you have seen this one. It's a little bit taken from above. I think it's a picture taken with a drone. That's what I think you mean, that one.
Yeah, how often do you come across these old places? That is just fascinating.
Yes, it's especially in Europe you see a lot of old places. The Caucasus is just so many places, old churches, and, well, of course, Greece, that's one of my favorite countries also. You see so many old things, and I like to see that. But well, you can see it everywhere. Also here in Central Asia, the old buildings built in the in the time of Genghis Khan, old forts, places of the Silk Way. Everywhere you can see many places. Every country has its specific places.
That's great.
But most of them you can see in Europe, and because it's all together. And here it's much more wider. It's more deserted. It's more there's more space between the older places.
Okay. So any helping others, doing good, or philanthropy that you focus on during your trips, or any opportunities that you've seen that might be good for our listeners to take advantage of?
Yes, I had some opportunities. I could help some people, some persons, especially when people were stuck in the mud, or it happened to me 4 times. People were stuck in the snow or in the mud, or they had an accident and they were down near a river, so I had to pull them out or push them out sometimes with my winch. I have a very large winch on the front side, so I could pull them out. So people were very happy, very glad that I was there, just passing by. And those are the main things I could do something for the people. Yeah.
Piggy to the rescue.
Yeah.
Yes. Rescue Piggy.
That's great. So this has been a lot of fun, Bert. Anything that we've missed?
So far, I don't know. I don't think so. We've discussed a lot of things now, so I hope that I've told enough. And yeah.
Let's wrap it up with some fun facts about you. Do you play any musical instruments on the road or around the campfire at night?
Oh, no. I can't recommend my singing and my playing. So I'm not very... I like to listen to music. Really, I can't live without music, but I can't produce it myself. Not by voice and not by instrument. So, no.
You're
and
in good
usually
company.
I don't.
They wouldn't want to hear us sing either.
Yes. And usually I don't make any fire. That's also when you're traveling alone. At least I am not making a fire. That's taking too long time, and takes a long time. No. But when I'm traveling with other people, sometimes I make a small fire. Yeah. But usually the other party is not singing or playing music. So far, I didn't enjoy any real live music.
What is your favorite drink in the morning to get you going?
Coffee. And usually I make my own muesli, so there's a lot of milk and yogurt. So that's a kind of drinking and eating together. So usually afterwards I drink a small cup of coffee, and then it's gone. And well, in the hot countries, I like to have just normal water, cold water from the fridge. And when it's cold country, when it's cold temperature, coffee and tea. But coffee is my main drink.
And what's a favorite beverage at night to wind down after a long day on the road?
When I've been on the road for the whole day, I like to drink a wine. I like the dry white wine. When it's very hot and I have and there's a lot of sweat, so then I like to drink a can of beer. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
And then sitting in the sun and see the sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your best advice to aspiring overlanders like us?
Take your time. Don't plan too much, because sometimes I meet people. They have 3 months' time, and they travel all the way to Mongolia and back again to Europe. But 3 months is very, very short, and try to do it in stages. Don't do it like driving every day 400, 500 kilometers just to reach your goal and then go back again. Enjoy your travel, and if you want to do some overlanding, the main thing is take your time, and you must start doing it, because otherwise you only dream about it and then nothing happens. So make your dream alive and start traveling, see the world. That's my thing. Yeah.
I love it. So, Bert, how can people learn more about you and what you're doing? Do you have social media, a website? How can people connect with you?
Well, I have my website, ww2xplore. There I try to write a blog every month. And so my last blog is only 1 week ago, so it will take another 4 weeks that I write my next blog. I am on internet. You can see it on my website as well. You just click on the button, website, Facebook or Instagram. So that's the main thing. Find my website and read the things and click on the icons of Facebook and Instagram.
Very good. Any more information you'd like to give or useful resources that our listeners should check out?
Maybe they are interested in my photos. They also can see on my website. They can just click on the page photos. Then there are two options. They can see my photos taken with my telephone. I think they are quite nice, but sometimes I also sell my photos, and then I use alamy.com. That's a stock bureau and this bureau is selling my more better photographs. So if somebody is interested in that, they click on the button of Alamy and they can see I can say, it's not really professional, but let's say professional photos. And on the other side, people can join me and they can read where I am. They can see on the page route, they see real time where I am. So every day when I'm crossing to another place, you can see it on the map. So if you want to join me, you can write me and then we can make an appointment.
In your photography, Bert, is that something that has come natural for you, or is that something you've realized you have that skill while you've been traveling?
I did it already. Well, I'm already selling it for more than 10 years, 15 years already. That's one of my hobbies, photography. And this is a very nice way of traveling also, because you are looking at things on another way. Every time again I see things or people or situations, and I like to take a picture of that. So you're looking to different things, and that's for me, I get a richer life for that.
Bert, thank you so much for your time. We are humbled that you've given us such an amazing look into your world, experiences, and knowledge. Safe travels and adventures to you, and we hope to catch up with you again in the future.
Yeah, it should be nice. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you for your invitation, and send all my love to your listeners.
Very good. Thank you, Bert. Have a good, evening there. Have a good evening.
It's an evening, and for you.
Yes, I'm watching the sunrise. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Bert. Take care.
Thank you too. Yeah. Bye-bye.
I love it. More great info on border crossings, a crazy border crossing story, taking 2 days to cross into Ukraine with questions on Piggy's weight. That was super interesting and a lot to learn from. And then what about the story with that local guy, like shouting at Bert to leave and throwing rocks at him?
I know. I was like, oh.
I think it would be smart to have and practice getting packed up and driving away quickly if anyone approaches with that kind of aggressiveness, just to avoid any potential problems.
Based on everyone we've talked to, it's very unlikely it to ever happen, but being prepared and smart sounds smart.
Ooh, nice one. And another strong recommendation from Maps.me. So that was super interesting. Finances on this one was a little shorter than previous ones, but solid good recommendations. Sticking with a 50 to 60 euros a day, or that comes out to $55 to $66 per day. So something like 420 US dollars or 380 euros a week. Or because I like numbers, monthly, you're looking at $1,806 or 1,639 euros a month for a very thirsty truck and a man that probably eats somewhat frequently at restaurants. Aside from a hiker or a bicyclist, who else can travel the world for under $22,000 a year indefinitely?
What is that in euros?
19,965.
Of course.
Then take that, put that in perspective. In the U.S., the poverty level for a family of 4 is something around $25,000. And we could legit travel in a big truck like Piggy at 22.
What?
Okay, sorry, I got excited.
Oh my goodness. Bert, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us. We learned a lot and really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit. You can find the links in the show notes at ghtoverland.com/podcasts. Select the ww2xplore episode. Remember, explore with an X.
A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Your support of the podcast seriously means the world to us. If you'd like to help support the show and possibly get a t-shirt or a coffee mug that doubles as a sweet G&T mug at night, take a look at the options while you're there. And dude, T. Patrick McShane II, thank you, man, for the support. You are a new Patreon, and we appreciate it very much.
Are we going to share how many Patreons we have now?
Well, you roll with me so you know how we roll. Open book country.
So is that a yes?
Oh, that totally sounded like something I would say to you. Yes. B.J. Herman, Grizzly and Bear, you guys rock. Philip Mueller, rock and roll. T. Patrick McShane II, dude, you're amazing. And William Macia. We know William as Will.
From the last U.S. Bag Company.
Dude, you're an awesome rock star as well. Thank you. And I don't know if we've mentioned the last U.S. Bag Company on the podcast before. A local family-owned business in Vancouver, Washington, USA. Man, they make some awesome bags, super high-quality stuff. If you're looking for a bag to put on the back of your seat to put a bunch of stuff, super high-quality, super amazing stuff. Be sure and look up the last U.S. Bag Company. And thank you, Will. We really appreciate you. You can send your questions, suggestions, and feedback to ghtoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us and tag us on social media at ghtoverland. We'd be absolutely grateful if you'd consider telling a friend or two about the podcast. Overlanding is about meeting new people in dirty places. Like dirty jobs?
Oh, right.
Anyway, what is it we normally say? Overlanding is about the experiences of meeting new friends, seeing the most amazing places on earth, and of course, new food and new drinks. I was going to say in dirty places again, but food and drinks in dirty places, you're sandy dirty. We are not on the tarmac here, people.
For even more good overlanding karma, kindly subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, giving the GHT Overland podcast a little extra love on your podcast platform of choice. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday. Live your best GHT life, show gratitude, be humble, and have tenacity to take action to live your overlanding dreams. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for a brand new episode of the GHT Overland podcast. Bye.
up, we're going to do some learning. Be sure and check out Shane Brown at ShaneBrownMusic.com.